My name is Sean Fields, and welcome to Kinetica. Kinetica is a project dedicated to the idea of psychokinesis or telekinesis, the ability, or apparent ability, to move or alter matter with nothing more than a thought. This has been a very popular theme in magic for a long time, and with good reason. Psychokinetic demonstrations are amongst the most believable illusions you can perform. Kinetica focuses on three of my favorites: the kinetic ring, the kinetic bill, and of course the kinetic coin. All three effects use the exact same method, but in slightly different ways to create three wildly differing effects. In case you haven't suspected, invisible thread is the method at play here. All three effects use invisible thread, but as I said, they use them in a different way to create three completely different effects. Traditionally speaking, invisible thread has been used to levitate something. And that's cool. Levitation is a really cool looking illusion, but when an audience sees something float, when they see a bill floating in space, there's only a few methods that they can comprehend. It has to be magnets or wind, or the most popular idea that they come to when they see something floating is thread. There has to be some sort of a string. And that's what makes Kinetica a little bit different. We're not making anything float. Animations are much, much more believable and ultimately more effective and more powerful to an audience. Kinetica uses invisible thread to create animations in an unorthodox manner. Unorthodox animations in an unorthodox manner means the audience has no capability to backtrack or reconstruct what they just witnessed. The only thing that they can believe is that you do somehow have some psychic power, some ability to alter matter with your mind. It's pretty powerful. So when we come back, we're going to take a look at the types of invisible thread you can use, how to set it up, and how to prepare for the illusions taught here on Kinetica. All three effects in Kinetica utilize the same gimmick. All three effects utilize invisible thread. Now I've got a nice white piece of paper here because invisible thread is invisible, so hopefully this will make it show up a little bit better on camera for you. Many people ask what kind of invisible thread I use. Do I use a reel? Do I use loops? Do I use Kevlar? None of the above. I use a super simple thread setup that gives me far more practicality and convenience than any other device I've ever used. I've worked with every invisible thread gimmick and setup known to man, and I always come back to this one. It's simple, it's efficient, it's practical, and reset should you break the thread is much, much quicker. I've tracked this thread setup back to Bob Hummer. I'm sure of the whirling card fame. You know, the thing where you flick the card and it sails around your body? He was the first guy to use the setup I'm about to share with you. Since then, other guys, such as John LeClaire, put a lot of work into it and made it something even more special. They've taken it and done their own work with it. So here, the invisible thread I use is nothing more than standard magician's invisible thread. Now, if you've never worked with this stuff before, you're probably wondering, what am I on? This doesn't look very invisible. It actually kind of looks like wool. The secret is, this isn't the invisible thread. The invisible thread are the fibers that make up this string. So Alan, I want you to come in real close. See if you can get a shot of this. Because to get the invisible thread, you need to strip it or tease it out of the larger string. You do this by grabbing the end and just sort of pulling at the end. As you do that, you'll get a hold of a fiber. You might get a hold of 2 or 3 fibers, but if you continue to tease, you'll get a hold of just one. Now I'm putting a tiny little bit of putty so I can keep it on the table so you can see. Hopefully if you come in real close, you can see that fiber there, Alan. Yeah, there we go. Now when you're stripping the thread out, you have to remember never to touch the end and never to touch where it bunches up. And I'll show you what I mean. As you start to tease the thread out, you'll see it begins to bunch up in the middle. Never touch that bunch and never touch the open end. That's just going to get the thread all tangled up and make it more difficult to strip out later. So you simply continue to pull the string away from the thread and work from below the bunch. So I pull, and I'm just moving by pulling below the bunch, I'm moving the bunch down. And you continue doing this until you get the length of thread that you need. In our case, the length of thread you need, for me, is about 2 feet. The thread is going to run from behind your ear to about your belly button, give or take. So we strip out as much thread as we need. And in this case, it's going to be 2 feet. And what I like to do, and I'm not going to do it here because you need to see this on camera, but what I like to do is once I've got 6 or 7 inches stripped out, I take one piece and I stick it behind my ear. So I'll stick it just behind my ear. I'll take this end and stick it behind my ear. Hopefully you can see that. Now you'll notice the thread is hanging off my face. This makes it a little bit easier for me to strip out the right length. I'll just pull and continue to pull. Like always working below the bunch until I get the amount of thread out that I want. Once you've got the amount of thread that you want, you need to put some putty or some wax at the other end. I've got a little bit of putty here. I've also got some beeswax, which works just as well. But for right now, we're just going to use regular putty. So once you've got the thread stripped out, oops, one more time here. There we go. Now, this is a little short, but it doesn't matter. It's for just to show you how this works. Take the other end of the putty and wrap it into the thread. So I'm just sticking the putty onto the thread above the string. Once that's done, break it off. The invisible thread will hang from your ear down, and with the string, just pull it all the way out from the end, and you can rewrap it around your card, and you're set to go again. Now, it's going to be very difficult for you to see me work with invisible thread, so for the rest of the DVD, to explain how these illusions work, we're going to use white thread. When we come back, I'll have the gimmick set up with white thread so you can clearly see the length, and we'll get rid of the white paper so to make sure that the white thread stands up and so that you can learn these effects easily. I've made a gimmick out of white thread. That way it's a little bit easier to see against my black jacket, my black shirt. Now the first thing I want you to notice is the thread, the length of the thread. The length of thread you're going to use will be completely dependent on your height and your body. For me, about 2, maybe 2.5 feet works. What you want is you want it to run from its anchor place behind the ear, which we're about to show you, to roughly your belly button, give or take, just a couple inches higher. On one end of the thread, I've got a fairly large ball of putty or wax. In this case, I'm using putty, but putty, wax, it doesn't matter. And on the other end, I've got a much smaller ball of, again, putty or wax. Doesn't matter, whatever you're more comfortable with. Now, to set this up, to anchor the thread, we're going to take the larger ball of wax and we're going to stick it behind our ear against our skull. So, Alan, if you want to come in, I want to be able to show you exactly where this goes on me so you know where to put it on yourself. If you fold your ear back, right here behind the fold of the ear, right against the skull and right against the ears where you want to pin it. So watch. It comes here, and I stick the putty right there, right against my skull and my ear. From there, I'm going to push my ear against my head. I know it seems a little weird, but I want that putty to stick really, really firmly. And when you push your ear against it, the putty will also stick to your ear, almost pinning it. The last thing to do is to bring the thread up and over the ear. Oops, there we go. You don't want it hanging out the bottom, you want it hanging off the top of your ear, right here. The reason for that is it gives you a tactile feedback. You can feel the thread. Any tension on the thread, you can feel it. And that's critical. Knowing the tension of the thread and the condition of the thread is integral to all invisible thread work. So having the thread coming over your ear gives you a tactile sensation. You know how much tension is on the thread. You can feel it, and it's very, very useful. The other end of the putty, you can just stick to the inside of your jacket. I'll just stick it kind of against my zipper or in that area behind, and that's it. That's where the thread is going to hang. Now you'll notice, the one thing I should mention is I don't recommend using a zipper jacket. I'm okay with it because I'm comfortable with thread, but for most people, I would avoid zippers. The thread can get caught and it can get tangled. But the idea is that when the thread is behind your jacket and running from your head, it's completely out of the way. You have full motion, you have complete range of motion, and the thread is in no danger. You can shake hands with people, you can hug people, nobody is going to see it. The thread is safe, but it's there the minute you need it. Telekinetic demonstrations are amongst the most powerful effects you can perform for your audience. Imagine removing your ring, or borrowing one from an audience member, and laying that ring flat on your palm. Begin to focus, and the ring stands up. It begins to spin and hover above your palm. And just when they think the effect is over, bam! The ring flies back to your finger. That's the kinetic ring. Start with the ring on your finger. I'm left-handed. I've got the thread set up on the left side of my body, so I'm going to put the ring on my left third finger. You can put it on any finger you want. I just happen to use the third finger because I think it looks nicest. When you want to perform, all you have to do is get control of that wax from the inside of your jacket. Just peel it off with your nail. So you've got the ball of wax in your hand. Now just stick that wax underneath, against the fingernail of the ring finger, and press it in there very well. It doesn't have to be invisible. It just has to be, you don't want a huge chunk of putty or wax. The last thing here is you want to make sure that the thread, when you straighten your hand, comes out over the middle of the finger. You see how it's coming? It's splitting my finger in half. It's coming right up the middle. That's critical to the end of the solution. If the thread is off to one side or the other, that final moment where the ring jumps back onto the finger, and you can watch the demo to see that, but that final moment won't happen unless the thread is directly over the middle of your finger. Now, the performance proper. You're set up. The only thing you need to do, and this is beautiful, is reach over and take your ring off. That's it. If you want to do the spinning and the animation, like I like to do, just twist the ring 2 times, and you do that under the guise of examining their ring or displaying yours. I'm going to go a 3rd time just for fun. Now you hold the ring, and you'll see with the white thread that it's the twists are very loose, so the ring can move up and down on the thread. That's important because when you're twisting it, it's probably going to be much closer to your fingers, but when you put it on your hand, you want it to be on the palm. So you can pull back. Now you straighten your fingers and place the ring on your palm. You'll notice the thread is still splitting the middle of my third finger, and it's been wrapped around twice. Now the animation is dead simple. All you have to do is slowly straighten your head. The ring will stand up and begin to spin. If you're gentle, you can make it stand up on its own accord and then a little bit more tension and it'll spin. So one more time. From here, you twist once, twice, 3 times for good luck. Pull back, straighten your hand out and lay it on your palm and slowly tilt your head back. The ring will stand up and begin to spin and then it'll fall again. That's exactly what we want. And the slower you move your head, the slower that will happen. Now, when you want to do the big finale, again, all you have to do is straighten. This time you need to curl your fingers in a little bit and you're still going to straighten your head back. So you curl your fingers in so the fingertips are pointing up and you tilt your head back and the ring will jump right onto your finger. One more time. From here, we'll do it right from the animation. A couple of twists. Put the ring on the finger. Straighten your head. The ring stands up. Pause for a minute. Straighten a little bit more. And the ring twists and falls down. And for the last one, just relax your hands a little bit so the fingertips are pointing up. And then you're going to pull your head back. And the ring jumps right onto your finger. Cleanup is just as easy as the rest of this routine. All you have to do is put the ring all the way on your finger. What I do is I come over and you'll notice as I'm pushing the ring on my finger, the middle finger of my right hand automatically covers the fingernail of my left third finger. So as I push the ring on, and under the cover of pushing the ring on, what's going to happen is my middle finger of my right hand is going to contact that putty and just pull it off. So it goes on, the wax gets pulled off. Now the hand that's got all the heat on it, the hand that would be suspect is the one with the ring. People are going to think there's a string attached to the ring or a magnet or there's something gimmicked with the ring. But this hand is completely free and clear. You can extend it and say, look, take a look, nothing. This hand has the putty stuck to the finger, and that's attached to the thread. So while you're doing this hand can just relax, let the putty go, and stick it back to the inside of your jacket. You're clean and you're ready to go again. They can examine you, your hands, the ring. There's nothing for them to find, yet you can do the trick again on a moment's notice. Energy can't be created or destroyed, only transformed. What if you could borrow a bill from a spectator and harness the energy stored in the folds of that bill, causing the bill to fold? Not just once, but twice. This is the kinetic bill. This is kinetic bill. This is my interpretation of the classic haunted or self-folding bill illusion. This effect, the self-folding bill, is ancient. I'm sure many of you remember the old gaffed bill that you would put on your hand and it would fold up, and then you'd have to do a shuttle pass to hand it out. It was a beautiful illusion, and it's still one that I like to break out from time to time, but the problem is the bill is so heavily gaffed. And you need to switch the bill out before you can hand it out for examination. It can't be borrowed. There are other versions that other guys have done where it happens on the table, or under a glass, or there's many variations of this effect, but not one of them allows you to do it with a borrowed bill. Kinetic bill does just that. And it is simplicity in action. Take a bill, borrowed, and just fold it in half once, give it a good crease, and fold it into quarters the same way. Again, give it a good crease. Open it up and just sort of straighten it out so those creases are not horribly, so they're not too noticeable. A softer bill works better for this than a newer bill. It just makes the animation a little bit more fluid. After you've done that, you need to get control of the end of your thread. So as you're showing the bill, just as before, take the wax, you just peel it off with your finger. Oops, there we go. And stick it to the back of your thumbnail. If you can see that there. I just stick it to the back of my thumbnail. So after I peel it off of my jacket, I get it there. Now holding the bill face towards you, so because we folded it in half this way, so with George facing me, I'm going to take my thumb and press it. I'm going to press the wax against the end of the bill, right in the middle. Doesn't have to be. You can put it on either corner. It makes, depending on your preference, on either end might make it a little bit easier to clean up later. But for me, I like it right there down the middle of the bill. So once I've scratched it off, I cover it with my thumb. So now I can show the bill all around. It's not going to disrupt the thread. The thread is just going along for the ride behind my hand. So there's nothing to see. Now to set this up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the bill so that the wax end or the putty end is facing the spectator. Now I'm going to run my hand back, but my first finger goes over the thread. And I use my first finger and thumb to pinch the other end of the bill. So from here, again, from here, we show the bill around. My first finger is going to run over top of the thread, pinning the thread against the bill, and then I'm using my first finger and thumb to pinch the bill. Now, when you want to perform the animation, all you have to do is pretend like you're sending some sort of kinetic energy towards the bill and tilt your head back. That will cause the bill to fold along that first crease all the way up, and once it hits the back of your first finger, reach over with your middle finger and close it shut. You can come back with this hand and crease it closed. You'll also notice that I'm pinching the wax. I grab the wax between my middle finger and thumb, so now it's waxed closed at the open ends. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing I just did. I'm going to turn the waxed end towards the audience. My first finger is going to pull back on the thread and then pinch the bill. And just as before, all you have to do is pull your head back and move your hand forward, and now the bill begins to fold into quarters. Pinch it closed, crease it shut. You can show the bill all around, and remember, the thread is invisible, so they don't see anything. So this display already looks incredibly clean. To clean it up is super simple. All you need to do is open up the bill and scratch off, open up the bill and just scratch off that wax with your thumb. So you can just fold it back, scratch it off, there we go, and stick it to the back of your thumbnail again. Scratch it off, stick it to the back of your thumbnail, and now you can hand it out. Your hands are clean, there's nothing for them to see. There's a little wax there, but nobody ever notices that. And all the way back, you can get it onto your first finger, adjust your jacket, sticking it back against your zipper, the inside of your jacket, and you're clean and you're good to go again. Now the beauty of this effect is, again, it can be done with a borrowed bill. But it can be done with more than just bills. You can do it with pages from a book or receipts from a gas station, from a restaurant or whatever. Any paper that's roughly bill-shaped can be made to fold in on itself. It's a beautiful demonstration of PK. When you play it correctly and you play it as if you really had psychic powers, it is a staggeringly beautiful and simply, wonderfully deceptive effect. And it is truly, truly believable as a demonstration of telekinesis. Metal bending demonstrations are among the most powerful possible in all of telekinesis. Imagine borrowing a coin from an audience member, laying it on your palm, and then, with nothing more than a gentle touch of your fingertip, causing that coin to begin to warp and distort and bend. Forever leaving the coin in an altered configuration. There's nothing to hide. There's nothing to see. This is the kinetic coin. This illusion is known as kinetic coin. It is a bending coin illusion. You borrow a coin and just wave your hand over it and cause it to melt and bend. It's one of my favorite effects. It's based loosely on an old idea I had years ago for a ring flight called Flight 204. In turn, that was based on John Cornelius's fickle nickel idea. To get in, now I should tell you there is no shortage of ways to bend a coin. There is countless ways to cause a coin to bend, both sleight of hand and gimmicked. This method is incredibly clean, and it uses invisible thread as a kind of a hidden hand, almost like a thumb tip. I'll show you what I mean. The first thing that you're going to need to do is get a bent coin. Now, you can certainly buy these from different magic shops, such as magicplace.com, but you can also make them very inexpensively, very efficiently yourself. There's tools that magicians have invented for bending coins into this exact configuration, but the easiest and most convenient way to do it is get a couple of pairs of pliers and some towels. You wrap the coin in the towels and you grab each end with the pliers, squeeze hard, and just bend. It's very, very simple. If you're under 18, we're working with tools, so get some parental assistance with this, should you need. Now, the other thing you need to do is borrow a quarter. So here's how we get into this. As you're asking for a quarter to be borrowed, all you need to do is get this coin out of your pocket, the bent coin, and you just sort of clip it with your fingers. That's it. Just clip it between the first finger and the middle finger. Your hand can be super relaxed, but it can also open up straight. So you get it clipped between your first finger and middle finger and relax. As they're reaching to get a coin as they're reaching for a coin for you, also get control, of the end of your thread, get that tiny little wax ball, and just get it to the back of your thumbnail. And you don't want it really, really in there. You just want it loosely on there because you need control. When they hand the coin back to you, immediately take it for me, it's in my left hand. That's the hand that's got the wax on it. With the right thumb, I'm going to go and I'm going to pull the wax off of my left thumb and squeeze it against the coin. I'm going to squeeze it against the borrowed coin. So again, I take it, pull it off, squeeze it against the borrowed coin, and now we're good. The borrowed coin is attached to the thread. Place the borrowed coin into the palm of your right hand, or if you're right-handed, your left hand. This hand, again, they never see the bent quarter. The hand is relaxed. It opens up flat, And it's going, and I like to turn slightly to the right. So I'm not doing this dead on, but I'm facing slightly to the right. So my left side is slightly more exposed to the audience than my front. That's going to allow me to do some, that's going to give me the cover I need for this to work really, really well. Also, tilt your right hand just slightly. You don't want it perfectly flat. It has to be somewhat tilted. Now this hand is going to come over, and as it does, it catches the thread in the space between the first finger and the thumb. Now I'll pull my hands away from me a little bit because I want some tension on that thread. Not a lot, but it needs to be a little bit more tense. If I keep going, that's going to pick the coin up. You can't see that because my hand is blocking it, but what's going on, Alan, if you can come in real close, is as I move this hand up, it drags the other coin off my hand and it falls behind. So now that coin is hanging behind my right hand. So again, we're here. The thread gets caught between my first finger and thumb, and the coin gets dragged around to the back. Now, as I come back, I'm going to drop the bent coin on my palm and just touch it with my finger. And it looks like it bends, and I turn both hands palm up. So what they see from the performance angle is this. They see a bent coin and two empty hands. But from the other side, the borrowed coin is actually hanging behind my hand. Now this is the part that absolutely fries magicians. I drop the coin from one hand to the other. So I drop the bent coin into my waiting left hand. But I don't stop. My thumb comes under the thread, and keeping the thread at full tension, you can close your fist and continue turning over, which keeps the coin on the back side. This is the fickle nickel idea. So from here, I'll let you see it from the back. We're here and here. So from the back, I've bent the coin drops into my hand, and I continue going to show the other side of my hand. From performance, we're here, the coin's been bent, it drops, and I show the other side of my hand. And now you can come back the same way. You always want to keep the thread, and you really should look directly at your hand while you're doing this, because that will keep the thread perfectly in line so that your thumb doesn't get in the way. And you can keep the coin behind your hand and turn your hand back and forward all day. So the coin gets dumped, the hand gets turned over, and I turn it back this way. And I start to relax, and I turn towards them. But as I relax, this hand starts to come down and keeps tension on the line. Remember, their attention is over here on the bent coin. They realize this hand is empty. So I turn and I look at the bent coin. This hand relaxes. See how the fingers just relax? And as I turn to hand this one over, that coin just gets pulled right back into my palm, behind the fingers. So we're here. These fingers just relax, and the coin gets just popped up. So here's what it looks like from the wrong side. You're here, fingers relax, and the coin just gets pulled into the palm. But again, from the audience's perspective, we're here. Oops. From the audience perspective, we're here. There's nothing to see. Nothing seems to happen. The coin can go into finger palm. I can flick off the wax with my thumb as I'm handing this out. And just as before, I can let it go, and the wax will swing under my jacket, or just stick it to the, because I've got the coin in finger palm in my right hand, this is the one time where I'll stick the wax to the right side of my jacket. They're examining this. This hand, which has been seen empty the entire time, pins the wax to the jacket and can just go south with the gimmick. They can just go south with their coin, dump it in the pocket, you're clean. Simple, direct, and it's a lot of fun to do, and it has a huge impact on lay audiences. It's going to take a little bit of practice to get right, but try it out. I'm sure you'll love it. Well, that's it, guys. That's Kinetica. 3 psychokinetic effects, all reliant on invisible thread. I don't want you to stop your studies of a visible thread with what I just showed you. It's more than just a trick. It's not just the thing that makes the bill float. Invisible thread is an invaluable tool to the working performer. These 3 effects, I hope, will spur some creativity in you and inspire you to look at the other things that can be done with invisible thread. It is such a fantastic tool. You can move things with it, you can make things vanish or appear with it. There's no limit to what the creative performer can do with invisible thread. So take these effects, make them your own. Go out there, have some fun, and make some people believe. We'll see you next time.